welcome to SME TV. This is our news and views show. I'm your host, Angela Vithulkis. Today's segment is our ThinkTank panel. The question today for our Brains Trust experts is sales. On our road to recovery and especially from COVID-19, are we paying attention to the way that we sell? Please remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel to support us and all SMEs, and you can share, like, and comment. Is there enough wind in your sales? Do you have a big team? Is it just you? Have you considered revising the way your business does its business? Joining me today in our think tank is Bernadette McClelland, CEO of Three Red Folders, sales and leadership performance consultancy, and an extraordinary sales person in her own right. Bernadette, welcome.
Thanks, Angela. Great to be here.
Very, very little that you don't know about the sales industry, I think. Elly Hurley, co-founder of Nudge Marketing and an online communication and human behaviour expert. Welcome, Elly.
Thanks, Angela. Great to be here.
Look forward to talking about chatbots with you and AI and other things amazing. Sharon Grant, lead sales trainer, CEO of Elegant Sales Success. Hello, Sharon, and welcome.
Hi, Angela. Thanks so much for having me.
It's lovely to have you all here. I've put you together. I've called you our think tank. I've called you the Brains Trust. I'm going to put you all on the spot. I'm going to start with Bernadette. This is a pop quiz. Name 2 things clients or companies get wrong within the sales, selling, or marketing world. You're up, Bernadette.
Great question. Off the top of my head, 2 things that they get wrong is not having a formal, structured sales process.
Yep.
And also focusing too much on operations and not enough around sales, the sales channel.
You stole my line from later, but I will come back to that because that was the first thing that grabbed me when I looked into the way that you do business in terms of sales. Elly, you're next.
For me, it's really straightforward. 2 things. People don't personalise the conversations they're having with people, and therefore it doesn't hit the mark for them. Yep. And the second thing is that they try to go from first contact through to naming their kids rather than sort of taking the steps in between to have a coffee, go out for dates, etc.
Yeah, there has to be some kind of date in between closing the deal, surely. It can't be that simple, right? I've met you, great, thanks, give me the big contract. Sharon?
Yeah, for me, it's making the mistake that marketing and sales are 2 separate entities and there isn't a crossover. That to me is a bit of a fatal error. And the second is not measuring or keeping track of sales metrics. I'm surprised by how many business owners don't keep track of what their conversions are and what their numbers are. Know your numbers.
So this is an unexpected one. I'm going to extend the pop quiz here. Do you find that those that are in marketing have come through in education, particularly in education ways when they are learning marketing? It is all about the numbers. It is all about the diagnostics. Somewhere in between that, when it comes into a business or a company, they put marketing as a creative, strictly creative.
Yep.
And in terms of sales too, Bernadette, in the industry that you specialise in, and we're talking about manufacturing in particular, do you find that numbers have been of high regard or they should be? That's why you come in to look at the sales numbers and fix them?
So I work across manufacturing, construction and ICT. Yep. And look, what I see as a pattern there is that people think that they have a process. People think that they've got the numbers right. People think that their salespeople follow a process. Yep. They do a lot of thinking about it, but when you peel it back, yes, they've got certain numbers and certain conversions that their own internal processes will demonstrate. But as far as a formal structured sales process that the sales leaders or the CEOs can hold their team accountable to, that is missing.
You have some interesting data on your website in percentages on the percentage of not follow-throughs, not converting, no one monitoring them. You're talking about, what, 50% of their time is wasted?
It's actually, when you peel it back, when you think about coaching, coaching alone coaching alone within a sales environment can increase revenue by 27%. So, and I work with a tool that is based on 2 million people. So that's my data set that I use. Right. So that's an incredible number. Absolutely. And when you look at sales businesses in that space, 91% of them don't even have a formalized sales process.
See, that's a horrible thought right there, 91%, Bernadette, because they have to be set up for failure. For that big chunk.
Not so much set up for failure, but not set up to optimize the ability to overachieve their targets.
So they're missing out. And what we're going to come back to during this discussion is the way that you're all approaching this and the information that you're giving us. Is it relevant to pre-COVID, during COVID, post-COVID? But we'll come back to that. Yep. Sharon, is sales hard? Surely if you've got a great product, it just sells itself, right? Just walks off.
It's sales, being easy hasn't been my experience, and I don't know that many people will admit to sales being easy. It's quite simple though. It's not necessarily complicated. I think a lot of people overcomplicate sales, the approach to selling and the sales process, and it becomes very convoluted and confusing. I'm a real fan of just keeping things really simple, but I would never say sales is simple and elegant. Right. Yes, absolutely elegant. But yeah, I wouldn't say it's easy.
So what do you think, because it's not easy, more people aren't doing it well? Or do you think also that, as a business owner, you've got a sales team because you give them a title, right? So they must be, therefore, the sales team. And do you think that there's not enough structure, and again with the metrics, right? Enough structure in order for them to do their job effectively and deliver on the results? Because you pull a team together, and Elly, I'm going to bring you in on the marketing here. You pull a team together, right? Bernadette, you've got a label on them. Here is your sales team. And then you kind of stand back and just go, okay, off you go. Do that. So is that what we are looking at now, that we've had to come back internally, look at our company structures, evaluate that the better our sales teams do, obviously we are going to make more money, have more profit, be able to grow. That's all anyone can wish for on a business wish list, right? Make more money, grow.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I mean, I think what Bernadette talked to around not being able to optimize, if you have not great systems, not great structure, then you won't be able to optimize. The primary problem I see is that people just can't get out of their own way when it comes to sales. There's a real sort of, I guess, attitude to sales and selling in this country a lot that, selling is icky and sleazy, and there's a resistance to embracing sales and really moving forward in an elegant way, and they hold themselves back from really being able to help more people because they're afraid of sales or they're confused about what it is. You can have really great structure and systems.
It can be personal though, Sharon, right? Someone
Absolutely.
says no, you go to someone and they're saying no, and then I think that's the perception from why more talent perhaps doesn't come out in a sales team, because they haven't had that training or direction or that mentoring or that coaching, because maybe the boss doesn't know either. Mm-hmm. So, and Bernadette, you deal with bigger businesses, but you also don't leave the CEO out of the equation. So it's not just looking at the sales team. You're also saying that, the CEOs need to be coached and mentored in sales to understand, so that they can help their sales team. How important is the leadership in terms of sales?
Look, what's really important, I think, is in the fields that I work in. If we were to sit around a boardroom table, and they would have their monthly meeting, the stakeholder meeting or whatever, you would find that most of the topics of discussion will be around finance, or they'll be around manufacturing, or they'll be around operations.
Yep.
Sales gets left out from a strategic perspective a lot of the times. So what we
Why?
Do, pardon?
Why?
The focus is not on it, because in a lot of cases the awareness isn't there. In some cases, it's perceived to be an easy task.
Yep.
and it's almost like a given that sales will walk through the door.
It's taking care of itself. It doesn't need to be discussed. It's taking care of itself somewhere else.
Yeah. So, but it comes back to the mindset of the leadership team, and are they operationally focused? That, which is why we work with growth focused. We work with sales focused CEOs who recognize the importance of creating a very sales smart culture. Do that, and your whole demeanor as an organization changes. You put emphasis on process. You put emphasis on customizing things towards sales. You put emphasis on not just having an ERP, but having a CRM. So there's accountability with, reviews and meetings and things like that. That's where things start to change. So just purely by having a sales process on its own, a company can increase their revenue by 15% purely by having a structured sales process.
Yeah, who doesn't want that?
Which is different than a methodology. So,
yeah,
Elly,
absolutely.
You've heard Sharon and Bernadette speaking now on processes, making sure that it's all working step by step. That's got to be music to your ears.
Absolutely.
For someone with your background and what you're looking at. I mean, the whole point of a chatbot is all about generating leads. That's got to be helpful in some way for sales.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the primary tasks the chatbot can be used for is lead generation, but more importantly than the actual lead gen is the pre-qualifying. So what you can do when they're set up really well is it can have the initial conversations which in a very easy environment for people, because we're used to talking to friends and family on either Messenger or in some sort of chat feature. So there's not that, oh my God, I've got to speak to someone on the phone, which they're going to try and be interesting. So what the chatbot can do, or what using technology does, is actually those barriers before the actually comes onto the call. And the great thing about that is once the salesperson does come on and you have the human to human conversation, it's a hell of a lot easier for them. And it does become really elegant, like Sharon said.
Well, I tested your chatbot last night on Facebook, on Messenger, and it was interesting because it said to she, I'm going to go, I heard a female voice. In my head, it was a female voice. And she said to me, don't be scared of me, because it's technology, it's AI, I'm a chatbot. And I thought I was being clever, and I wrote back, I'm not scared of you.
You're not the first person that's actually done that. So one of the things that you can do with chatbots is you can personalize them, and you can set them up to actually respond to people based on keywords and things like that. So
we were having
your conversation.
Your chatbot and I were having this clever kind of chess game conversation where I was trying to come up with a scenario that it couldn't deal with, and it kept dealing with it. So, but what we're talking about specifically is that smaller businesses now, because, Bernadette, it might have been 5 years ago, 10 years ago, chatbots or AI or any of that technology to help with sales and leads and generating that would have been just for the big end of town. It's completely affordable now to have it as part of a smaller market, if you will, the SME market, smaller size businesses, to help streamline their sales process so they don't have as big a team. Is that a good strategy for the smaller businesses who might not have as many resources to have as big a team? What do you think, Bernadette, there with big business? Bigger businesses have a bigger budget, more bodies.
Correct. Look, it depends on the strategy.
Okay.
That the business is putting forward from a marketing perspective, from a inbound sales perspective. If it's affordable today, I've got a mixture of clients that have it and that don't have it.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you get clients that you think would benefit from it but push back against that kind of technology?
I don't have those conversations.
Okay.
So they aren't part of my conversation with my buyers.
Right. Okay. And so if we talk about, and in particular, Elly, I'm going to quote again, right? Lead generations, it's possible with chatbots, but it's all about connecting, being genuine, taking people on that journey, that conversation where I'm like, I'm not scared of you. So of course, in order to look at that, you're addressing a couple of things like, how do I get more clients? How do I build my list? How do I get people to buy my products?
Yep.
Right. That's because you want to sell.
100%. And that's what business...
Because you want someone to buy whatever it is you're selling, whether it's a product, a service. These days in COVID, who knows where it's going. So again, as far as AI goes, it's not replacing the salesperson.
God, no. No, definitely. And
Right.
one thing I just need to clear up there for
Yep.
you is with chatbots predominantly are based on NLP, which is natural language processing, not AI, which is the artificial intelligence.
Yep.
Very few chatbots in the world that actually have the capabilities of sort of AI, and they are at the top end of town.
Right.
That's your sort of Alexa and Siri and things like that, where they're actually predicting what you're going to do. Whereas what we're sort of talking about for the SMEs is a chatbot where you have a really good knowledge of your client base, program it and set it up based on that information, and
Right.
then it gives the answers based on what a person either does or says.
All right. Well, you've opened the door to NLP there. I know that Bernadette has a scientific set of data of how you deal with sales, and Sharon, you do eDisc.
Yep.
I did look at the eDisc, Sharon. Do you want to know which bird I am?
Oh, I know which bird you are.
So do I.
Oh. You know, I'll put my hand up. I will say the truth.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, let's talk about Bernadette. I'm going to leave that now. Bernadette, I love the idea of science behind sales. I love that idea. Is that how you can sit down with a new client and say, look, here is the truth. Here is how it actually works. Here is how the results can happen. Do people deny the science and the data the way, because you can prove what you're showing them? How do they take that? Because
So, okay, so a big distinction to make here is that I don't talk to them about that.
right.
What I do
Yes.
is I'll use those tools as a salesperson,
Right.
and the platform or the tool that I use, which is measures salespeople separately, sales leaders, and then the business as a whole, is against 21 competencies. So those competencies are science, the 95% predictive validity, which means that there's 5% room for error.
Okay.
And
Well, that's
and
good
what
on it.
that does
Yes.
is that actually is a full-blown, look, I'm not going to go into the actual
No.
product, but what it does is it determines revenue in dollars that if they make certain changes will occur. And
Okay.
it's based on science. And that is just a game changer.
Right. And I think that's where I was getting.
Yeah,
Is that
but I don't go in and talk about that with my clients because that's talking about a product and I don't do that. So,
Right.
yeah.
For the purposes of this discussion,
Yep.
my curiosity factor went
Yeah.
way
True.
up there, given that Elly's talking about NLP, and I know that her chatbot specifically ties in with that. And plus your training, Elly, that background that you have, which is being able to read people, understanding that whole thing influences what you produce in the way that your clients try to engage in order to get sales.
Yeah, look,
You know,
it's important to understand human behavior. We all have buying
That's
strategies,
right.
which has changed tremendously since
Yep.
COVID, because if you're the type of person that likes to go into a shop and touch something, you can't do that at the moment. So online buying is so...
Yeah. It's not satisfying.
And so as business owners, what we have to do now is put things into place.
Yeah.
Sorry, I lost you there for 2
That's
seconds.
okay.
So yeah, we've got to put things into place to, I guess, fill those gaps for people to give them as much as we possibly can.
Right. So Sharon, I was very curious. You use eDisc, and you can have a look at your website and you can see 4 birds and you can choose to be a bird. I did not scroll down and read them all first and then decide which one I wanted to be.
I know. Yeah.
But now I've decided based on the feedback, Elly, that I'm getting from Sharon and Bernadette, I'm not going to say which bird I am. Because, right, that's okay. All right, back to seriousness now. Okay, a little bit of that knowledge background for people listening. What we've got now is people are, we've been promised we're on the road to recovery out of COVID. We've been promised that, and we will get there. Has COVID changed? And I'm going to start with you, Bernadette. Do you think COVID has changed sales? Are you going to do anything different when you go out there working with businesses now than what you've always done? Are you going to have to make any adjustments? Is it different?
I think it will be different, definitely. And I think it's already starting to show that.
Yep.
I think that you will get a mixture of businesses that will allow their people to stay at home and work.
Yes.
And give them that flexibility. The learning curve that salespeople out there have gone through by having to just be thrown in at home, learning to use Zoom, all of those different things is definitely a light switch that's just had to be switched on like that. So sink or swim. I also think that you're going to see a lot of salespeople disappear. Reason being, I think that it will get too hard for some of them.
Yep.
Because we're now in a situation where you're being, let's just say that people still work remotely.
Yep.
You're going to be under the microscope a lot more because you're now having to have meetings like this. Those meetings have to be on point. They have to be purposeful. They have to be outcome driven. And if you can't have those conversations, where you can't go in now with a cup of coffee and just chat to the person in that room there and g'day, how you going? Can't do that anymore. So that's going to be a big shift. And I also think from a learning perspective, being able to do blended learning for people like all of us, where we're kind of working with our clients to be able to put a couple of different options on the table for them.
So have you had to change the way that you work with your clients already, Bernadette?
So what I've been doing is my one-day events where I do one days, a strategy session with CEOs or what have you, used to be a one-dayer. And so now what I've been doing is splitting it up into 90-minute blocks and doing it over a period.
Because you can't sit on Zoom all day because your attention... your attention wavers. I have to actually, I've already done this week 2 7-hour meetings on Zoom. Because I have to as a board meeting, and I've had this offline conversation with Elly. What I end up doing, you sit there and you're like, I'm on the screen with 20 other people. Nobody cares what I'm doing. So I'm la, 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 la. And I secretly text someone to try and get their reaction on the screen to see what they're reading off my screen. So Sharon, how influential is eDisc?
Oh, it's very...
Why would I believe it?
Well, because it's been around for a very, very long time. It was developed in the 50s based on the work of Carl Jung and William Moulton Marston. William Moulton Marston, who are the founding fathers of what we know of modern day psychology today. So it's a very, very established tool, over 50 countries, many, many different languages. So it's highly accurate and highly well regarded in the industry. Okay,
so left field question.
Sure.
There are small businesses. They may have a team of 10 all up, and they want to have their salespeople, who they call salespeople, but they're just part of the team. They do lots of other things, but let's say that they do sales as well. Is eDisc a way of a business who can't probably attract high-end salespeople? Is eDisc a way of helping those people who are doing sales be a bit better? Square pegs, round hole.
Absolutely, because eDisc doesn't just tell you what you are. It doesn't just give you this is you. It also then lays out a pathway for you moving forward on how you can adapt and adjust your style to suit other types of clients. So it teaches you how to sell in a way that isn't the way you like to buy, but is in tune with the person that you're speaking with, or the number of people that you're speaking with, and their buying strategies.
So it's not about you, it's about them.
Them.
Okay. Elly, in your varied business experience, because you weren't always doing chatbots, you fell into the marketing because you were doing it for your own business, and then you saw how great you were at it, so you thought, okay, this is another business. So what are you finding, because you deal a lot with smaller organizations?
Yes, I do.
And SMEs, business owners, try to wear 10 hats, right? Some hats we shouldn't wear.
Correct.
We should not wear them. So how do you help a business with their marketing when there's not enough specialist care in that business to actually deal with what needs to be done?
I think what actually ends up happening is it becomes a done-for-you service rather than a consulting service. As you've said, a lot of small businesses are wearing 15 hats, as well as motherhood and everything else. And it's a case of, okay, let's set some objectives. What is the outcome that we want? Is it that we want people into a sales funnel that can then be picked up by a sales team that they may have? They may be the salesperson. So it's a case of what can we do that's going to either save you time or give you more revenue, or potentially both, and also save you revenue, so that we can make a difference to your bottom line. Because at the end of the day, if your net sale or if your net income is less than sort of everything else, you're in a lot of trouble. So I think it's important to focus on the right thing for small businesses. And one of the things that I've really noticed with clients I've been dealing with is that they've had to scramble because they've resisted going online up until this point. So they've had to get some sort of online presence. And the second thing is that they just don't understand it, and they have hit the procrastination and overwhelm buttons. So it's about talking to them in a language they understand. And I think that's what's critical for everybody at the moment.
Bernadette, are there any similarities there with the big end of town and the top tier of leadership and management? Do they exhibit the same pushback that or lack of knowledge, or are they automatically just more experienced and adept at adopting?
In what context?
So if Elly is looking at smaller organisations where she has to give them a service model where it's like, it's okay, don't worry, I'm not trying to teach you new things, we'll take care of it, and it happens because they don't have the skills to do it, and they recognise that.
So they're outsourcing it,
But the big end of town can also feel like that.
Yeah, so my market is the small to medium, is the mid tier. I come from the big end of town, but I choose not to operate in the big end of town.
Why?
Why? Because I choose to deal with people that can make decisions like that.
Right. Okay. I thank you, and that's true, because we do. You're talking straight to the decision maker. They like it or they don't, right?
Well, I mean, there's in the top end of town, there's so many more, players. And also from my personal perspective, I can give the most value to those who know less than those at the big end of town that have had all the big trainings.
Okay.
So I get a lot of personal satisfaction out of working with CEOs in the from $6 to $100 million. So that's my space. So when you keep, are bringing in the top end of town, that's kind of not relevant for me. So
I stand corrected.
No.
My bad.
I think that's a good conversation to have anyway. So let's just come back to what you asked. And see if I can kind of bring it into the market that I do.
Sure. And I want to bring in smart sales culture. You mentioned that earlier. It's a note that I had made of, because you've got to go in and convince or make them create that smart sales culture, right? Where everybody's got to be on board, right?
Like, are you talking to me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Still.
I want businesses. So this comes back, this is personal for me because my husband and I had our own bricks and mortar business and we lost everything. So
that's right.
From my perspective.
So you know how it feels, particularly right now for a lot of people.
Absolutely, totally. And so for me, there's a real driver. And that is to help small to medium businesses be a lot smarter when it comes to sales and it comes to that sales silo. So I want them to create a sales smart culture where it's almost like an everyone sells culture.
But that's just it, isn't it? They have to all be on board that way, right? To identify what the sales team needs to get it done. I mean, it's all about making sure that the team understands. I mean, I come from a hospitality background, and I was always front of house originally. You're only as good as the meal you're taking to a table.
Yeah.
I can sell it, but if the chef doesn't deliver, I won't build that pipeline of customers that come back because I delivered on what I said.
Yeah.
And go ahead, Elly.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think this is actually where we need to look at an amalgamation of some of the teams as well. And I know for smaller businesses, it's a lot easier, but it's where your marketing department and sales department actually have to have conversations as well.
Who could be the same person or only have one or two in there. I mean,
yes.
Sharon, you've got to walk into a business at any time and sort of say, again, I'm going to be cheesy. We are all in this together. Literally, we were all saying that and thinking that before it became a hashtag that trended. And Bernadette, I hear from my sales friends, right? I've got to develop my pipeline. I have to keep on top of it. I've got to make sure that I can convert. I have to have accountability. And some of them say it with a lot of angst. Right. What kind of pressure is there to make sure that they have a pipeline, that they convert well, that they've got accountability? Is that the checklist? You've got to have a checklist and say, yep. Is that what sales comes down to?
No.
Good. because we're being told, not here, but that there's some kind of, there's a box, there's 5 boxes on there. You tick, you've done that. I've called the client. I called them back. I sent them an email. They just don't want it. And that's not a chatbot, Elly, that's a human.
But that's the scary part about it. And I think that's where people need to perhaps up their game in relation to some of these things. Yep. Like, the first question I ask a lot of clients is, do you know what the objections are that your clients have when they get to a certain point in their customer journey with you? Because if you can actually sort of have pre-answered any of those objections before they actually get to it, it almost becomes them saying to you, how do I give you my money? Rather than you saying, okay, well, are we going to take that next step? And can we take this to the next stage? And I think, understanding where your client's at is huge in this regard. And it doesn't matter if you're at the small end of town, in the middle, or at the top end of town. Everyone has the same. It's a human to human conversation. At the end of the day, we all have a desire to be seen and heard. And if you can do that, then I think you can do well in sales, marketing, or anything you choose.
Is that true, Sharon?
Yeah, absolutely. I think being able to really drill into how people make decisions, and I'm so fascinated by the idea of chatbots being able to work this out. But
I told it I wasn't scared.
It's amazing.
And it came back to me, yeah.
Fascinating. I love it. I think the key to decision making is to make the other person feel like they're in control, and it's them that's making the decision, not you telling them that the product or service or the widget or whatever is awesome, but they're telling you, and as Elly has said, that they're saying, okay, well, how do I give you my money now, as opposed to you saying, okay, now can I have your money? An elegant sales process or an elegant sales experience is where the prospect feels like they're in complete command, and that they have ownership over the decision, and it isn't one that's been sort of manipulated or force them into a situation where they kind of feel like they have to say yes, and then they're not really sure why, and then there's all this buyer's remorse, and it's not a great brand experience.
Yep. So we do need to wrap it up, but Bernadette, how do you build a smart sales culture remotely?
Well, I mean,
that is your new challenge? Is that your new challenge?
That's just a loaded question.
However,
I can say that if anybody is listening and they're in a position of leadership or CEO and they want to have a 25-point sales audit checklist, then I'm more than happy to pass that on.
So we are going to need to do that though, as businesses now, in order for us to move forward and get those sales, because there's lots of components that come into that. You've got to have your good product, you've got to have 100 other things, but in order to have the sales, to have the growth, we've got to face the remote possibility that we are going to be doing a lot of these connections remotely, and what skill set is that going to require? We are a perfect example that the three of us, this is the first time the four of us have come together. We're literally getting to know each other in a conversation. We're trying to share knowledge, solutions, questions, answers with other people and have them believe that we know what we're talking about, and we have a limited time of doing it. It's the ultimate of trying to sell a concept in this way, because what I'm asking for to convert, I can't even do it right now. So it is the new challenge. It is, don't worry, Bernadette, I'm going to do it. I saw the look, I'm going to do it. All right. Thank you very much, everybody. We have actually run out of time for our think tank. I think I asked some tough questions and I think they gave it back to me just a little bit harder. I'll pick myself up off the floor a little bit later. Thank you very much, Bernadette, Elly and Sharon.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Now,
Thanks.
please remember, everybody, you must subscribe to our YouTube channel to support us and other SMEs, where you'll find more great interviews, have a lot more questions answered, and you can share, like, and comment. And a huge thank you to our friends at the SMEA Association for believing in us and backing us and making SME TV possible. If you would like to reach out to us with any comments, questions, or concerns, you can email us directly. news@smea.org.au. That's it from us. Catch you soon. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Angela.